begin. Today's topic, we're going to talk about generational curses or cycles of trauma. As a therapist, one of the things that people often come to talk to me about is what they're currently dealing with. Not understanding what they're currently dealing with is often linked to something that they've dealt with in the past. And a lot of times our trauma has started before we've even born, believe it or not. Even for myself, I'll tell my story often when I'm connecting with my audiences, doing trainings or workshops, and even doing individual sessions. I tell people a little bit about myself. I grew up in a household full of trauma and drama. Mom was a teenage parent. I was her first child. She was pregnant with me while she was doing her senior year of college. Senior year of high school, not college. She never went to college. Growing up, it was difficult because I seen a lot of domestic violence. It wasn't my biological father, it was my stepfather. But my mom's pain and trauma started way before her actual birth of me or conception of me. Her trauma started before with her own mother. And, that bleeds into who and how I became the person that I am and the things that I experienced, like finding out who my biological father was a couple weeks before my 12th birthday. And my grandmother told me that when she wasn't supposed to tell me that, she let out a family secret, which is something that a lot of people have, is family secrets. And those family secrets get leaked out at particular times to the particular people. And a lot of times what ends up happening is that creates these kind of disconnected relationships, or they bring up old wounds, or they lift the rug up for the stuff that was swept under. And that's what happened in my family. My mom and my grandmother, they already had their own old wounds that were all swept under the rug, and that rug got lifted up once my grandmother decided to tell me who my biological father was. And then that pain just kind of continued on. That pain just kind of shifted and continued on to where we are today with them and their kind of interesting dynamic and relationship. It also has affected the relationship that I have with my mother. We don't have the typical mother-son type of relationship. We really function like peers. And we've been functioning like peers for quite a long time. And this is something I'm going to talk about in a couple different videos as we move forward is, how do you re-relate to family members when trauma's present, when stress is present, and when you're trying to grow. Sometimes you have to shift the dynamic that you have with your family members, and that can be very, very uncomfortable for a lot of people. But anyway, shifting those generational quote-unquote curses, I don't even like that term personally. For me, it wasn't shifting a curse. For me, it was getting myself together so that my offspring, my children, don't have the same experiences that I had. And I made this decision early. I made this decision before I had children that I need to get my stuff together. I need to deal with my relationship, my issues, my stressors, my trauma. And I need to be putting myself in position so when I have children, they don't experience the same things that I experience. And a lot of people do this. A lot of people, when they think of having children, they think of this kind of idea of, I don't want my kids to go through the same thing that I went through. I don't want my kids to ever be in that position that I was in. I don't want my kids to live in the same type of environment that I lived in. This is very common. Like, this happens for everybody all the time. However, unfortunately, if you haven't dealt with your stuff, if you haven't shifted your environment, if you haven't made the changes necessary, your kids end up in the exact same situation, if not worse, that you were in. and that's just a reality, man. I see it all the time with people. Is they want the best for their children. They take a lot of risk and they take a lot of steps forward. But what ends up happening is their children end up in the same exact position, same exact scenarios that their parents were in, and it's usually because the parents haven't done enough of their healing themselves. So if you're someone who wants to shift, generational curses per se, you have to shift yourself. First it starts with your mindset, and everybody says that, mindset. But it's true. If you don't shift your mind on this stuff, you're never gonna change anything. You have to get to a place of awareness that something is wrong before you can even make a decision to do something different. And most people don't even have that awareness. They just take it as, woe is me, this is my life sucks, I'm never going to get out of this situation, everybody I know is like this, no one's here to help me, you don't understand me. And then they come see folks like myself, professionals, that give them, a breath of fresh air and a different perspective on life, and hopefully some tools, techniques, and strategies on how to move forward so that they don't continue to live the same life over and over. But breaking those trauma cycles, breaking those generational curses is very important. You do not want to pass on a legacy of pain. You do not want to pass on a legacy of pain. Unfortunately, especially in communities where I'm from, the black folks, black community, too many of us have been passed on a legacy of pain, a legacy of disenfranchisement, a legacy of confusion. And unfortunately, it's on the individual that has to shift that for themselves, because there's no fallback plan. There's no safety net for many of us. I didn't have a safety net. I had to figure this stuff out on my own. And the shit was frustrating, okay? It was frustrating trying to figure it out. And I was lucky enough to just meet certain people and make certain connections and take opportunities and not have the fears of what those opportunities offer me on the other side, and just figure it out when I got there. That led me to where I am today. Many people struggle with that. We hear a lot about the fear of success, and that's a part of that generational curse as well, is when you've only experienced nothing but failure, frustration, disappointment, and low expectations, you're not trying to do nothing different. So when opportunities present themselves, you just feel like, damn, like, is this supposed to happen to me? I'm not the right person for this. I'm not lucky enough to have this experience. And if you're that type of person, guess what? You're going to stay stuck in the same situation that you're in right now. You're going to stay stuck in that same situation because you're not willing to take that risk and see what's on the other side, and see where this opportunity might lead to another opportunity, which might lead to another opportunity, which might help you grow. And in order to grow, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to, there's no comfort in the growth zone, and there's no growth in the comfort zone. And unfortunately, what generational curses have done is keep us in this comfort zone of dysfunction, and we can't move forward. So we end up repeating the cycle over and over and over, and we just have generations after generations after generations of frustration, failure, confusion, and disenfranchisement. But we have to move beyond this. We have to move forward, and hopefully you can connect with the individual like myself or someone else that can help move you forward as best as possible, because your life is worth it. I'm Brandon Jones, man. That's it for today. Live life with purpose, on purpose. Check me out at jegna.org, and make sure you subscribe to this channel, because there's just more heat and content to come. Peace. I'm out.